Hey, and a good Monday afternoon to you. Welcome on into lunch with Claibs and Joe as we are live from Mungenast St Louis Acura out here on Manchester. I'm Joe Roderick, joined along.
All good. Another week in front of us and a lot to talk about today. A myriad of things to discuss today. But first of all, we want to let everybody know, being here at Mungenast St Louis Acura, they got a great selection of new cars and used cars. So if you're thinking about a used car or maybe something for the holiday, this is a place to go. We've got some nice cars right behind us. You can come out and check out. You can go online as well. When it comes to favorites, this is one of my favorites because they provide everything from service to sales. They've got variety, a lot of things. Come on out and check us out. Or as I said, you can go online and check them out as well.
And they also have the Toys for Tots donation going on right now. We'll give you more details on that coming up later on in the show today. A lot to get to sports-wise, but I do want to start off. Last week, we got the news that our friend Jay Randolph Jr. is going through some hard times right now. As he revealed last week, was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and wanted to wish Jay the best right now as he goes through that.
Yeah, last week was a tough week. I talked to him, gave me a call to give me the news, and I didn't know what to say because this is a guy I've known for over 30 years, and we've had so much fun together. And I'm not even sure where to start because when I start thinking about him and what he's meant to me, it just kind of gets to me. But we're certainly praying for him. We want to make sure things are comfortable for him as he has this battle on his hands. And the outpouring of friends that have come out, and the GoFundMe account has really done well to help cover some of these expenses. Says a lot about what Jay has meant to so many people. And when you think about golf in St. Louis, he kind of put it on the map when it came to promoting it and marketing it in the manner that we have, starting with fairways and greens and doing a lot of other things behind the scenes and working with so many people in the game. He really gave golf the look that it has now locally. And I don't know what we can say about him that hasn't already been said, but he's my guy for so many different reasons. And one of these days, I just have to tell you some Jay stories.
I got a few too, probably.
That's one thing.
Two Super Bowls and a Kentucky Derby.
Anybody who's hung out with him, you're gonna have a story or two.
That's what I was gonna say. You don't leave the presence of Jay Randolph Jr. without having a story.
He's a special person.
Yeah, so, JRandolphJr.com is where you can go. That'll connect you to the GoFundMe account and help out, as Claib said, with some of the expenses he's going to be going through over the next few weeks, few months. So get on over there and help him out. Hey, before we get it, I know they're showing it. I think they're showing it on the news over there right now. Something that has flown completely under the radar this morning. The shooting out at the University of Virginia. It's really, I guess it says a lot that something like that 3 football players at the University of Virginia were shot and killed this morning. And it is something that is not, leading all headlines and not being talked about everywhere.
Well, I think it has. I think, though, the other thing that comes into play, we kind of become oblivious.
That's what I'm saying. Like they have happened so much that we're numb to them that it's just okay. It's another one.
Here's a question: does Virginia play the rest of their season?
I can't imagine they would play this weekend. I don't know what they have to play for if they are going to play the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's tragic for sure, and we're still getting details on what happened. But apparently, somebody got in an argument on a bus on the way back from a field trip, and who knows what happened. We'll have to get more information as it goes on. But certainly, man, your heart goes out to those families who send their kid to school, getting an education and playing football the whole 9 yards. And you get that phone call about something this tragic, man. It's tough. It's just too many guns on the street, man.
It is. We'll get to some more college football stuff as we go on. But yesterday, the most exciting week of pro football that we've had this season. And you could start all the way at 8 a.m. yesterday. It's not too often that I will check out and be locked into those early morning games over in Europe, but there was something about it yesterday with, Tom Brady being involved and with it being the first game in Germany. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to see if it was different. It was kind of presented different than the other ones. So I got on the bike yesterday morning in the garage and put it on, and it was to pass the time. And those Germans were having some fun out there.
Yeah, no, it's apparently they had a good time and they had a good game to watch. And
Yeah.
that was important. And this will probably be the last time they'll see Tom Brady, play and his team. And it was that was an entertaining game. So yesterday was good. Even the upsets. I mean, Detroit beat Chicago. I mean, but I think the one that really caught me was the Minnesota Buffalo game. Because, and I had Minnesota winning that game. I didn't have them winning in that fashion. But to watch Jefferson play and some of the spectacular catches he made, and Minnesota showed up. And I'm also wondering, for a guy who has an ulnar nerve issue, to come out and throw that much, was it as serious as we thought it was, or was somebody kind of pulling the rug out from under us?
I mean, maybe it was a little gamesmanship going into a big opponent like that, but I mean, how many times have we seen it? A cortisone shot and a compression sleeve can make a lot of that go away, and you can fake it through 3 hours.
Yeah,
but are you willing to do that every single Sunday
exactly.
for the next 10 Sundays?
Yeah, I agree, and that's the big concern. But it was entertaining, man. But it's still the little things in the game, whether it's special team play or field goal kickers not making extra points or missing kicks. It's still little things. And Minnesota theoretically should have won that game of regulation. The drop pass right there at the goal line.
Dalvin Cook,
It just hit him in a bad place. It hit him right in the hands.
Yeah.
That play, maybe some interesting play calling on behalf of Minnesota made you wonder. And then you have the Kirk Cousins factor, because Kirk Cousins has been in a lot of those games and been on the short end of the stick a lot of times.
As long as it's not at night, he'll win.
Yeah, that's
I mean, he's probably really happy that game didn't get flexed into the Sunday night primetime spot. And they played it at noon. There's a lot less pressure on Kirk Cousins when he plays a game at noon than any other time of the day. But you questioned the play calling that the Vikings went with at the end. I'm kind of questioning some of the play calling the Bills went with at that goal. I mean, it's to have it at the half-yard line, to have Josh Allen. I get that he is the biggest quarterback in the NFL, and he should be able to help push that ahead. And I mean, we're talking about a fumble that happened there, but I mean, you have 4 plays to where you have one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league that you can't take a snap shotgun, run around the back of the end zone, throw it out of bounds. You can't do that a few times. Or if you see us opening, just run for it and get out of there and get some breathing room.
You make a good point. I understand, though, that situation where the snap, there's just too many things that can go wrong because you don't have a lot of working room to work with. I mean, you get one guy who slips a gap, and all of a sudden you got a guy getting tackled or forcing a fumble in the end zone, and that's never good. But, and the other thing is this. How often do you practice that? Think about how often do you practice being on your own goal line with no room to work with? And when you look at teams who try and think they can cover every angle of a game, I wonder how often they actually went through the motions of making sure that they had coverage on that situation.
I feel like that's a play, one of those that you are going to practice it, that you are going to do it to where you say, you know what, hey, I know this is about to be really boring, but it's going to come in hand. It's kind of like the pitcher fielding drill. It's kind of like pickoffs in baseball, or pitcher's going to cover first. How many times does a reliever have to go cover first throughout a season? Less than 10, you would think? 20?
Yeah, probably. I'd say, well, depending on who the reliever is. You get a ground ball pitcher.
Right. But how many times do they practice that? How many times do you see that happen at spring training where they're working on that drill?
Oh, they work on it every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that way, when you have it in the game, you don't mess it up. To where a victory formation in a scenario like that should be practiced a lot. But I also think you need to, like I said, you need to know who you have, know the personnel, and know that there are probably other options that you could go with outside of trying to run it and force it up the middle.
See, I think the other thing that comes into play, you had a backup guard in the game when Saffold went down. So maybe you're not comfortable with trying to do a lot of things in that situation. Maybe they overload that guy. and you got bigger problems. So I think there's a lot of scenarios that would reason on why they did what they did. But I think also the fact that, you just don't do it a lot.
Yeah. So that game, you had the Germany game first. Then you had the Bills-Vikings go into the start your afternoon. Now, the primetime game, the reason why Buffalo, Minnesota wasn't in that 3:30 time slot was because Fox thought they'd get more eyes on Green Bay and Dallas, so they put that game there. Now, I went and saw Black Panther yesterday, so I did not watch the Green Bay Cowboys game. I did follow along with it, and I kind of game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers finally figured it out, finally found a few receivers that can catch the ball and get into the end zone, but the Cowboys, they don't trust the running backs. They don't trust the running backs, and they don't trust their run defense.
Well, they do trust the running back. Pollard is a pretty good back. Pollard could start for a whole lot of teams.
Prescott threw it, 46 times?
Yeah, but you know what? They have some offensive line issues going on too, and that's something that doesn't get discussed enough. But the other thing is, it kind of tells you how weak the NFL is, because a lot of people think this is as good of a Dallas team as we've seen in a long time, and you wouldn't have told me that yesterday after what I saw. But so I think sometimes between injury in areas that don't get the notoriety, along with the wear and tear of a season, I think you're going to have games like that. And, Green Bay's not that good, okay? I don't want anybody to think that Green Bay, because they beat the Cowboys or legit. No, they're not.
They're going to sneak into the playoffs.
Only because they're in a bad –
I know.
I don't know. Do you really think so?
I do.
Okay.
I'm bringing up the standings right now. I'm bringing up the standings in the NFL as we sit right now. And in the NFC, they are one game back. San Francisco's in that third wild card spot right now, and they are 5-4. Green Bay is 4-6.
I don't think they get in. I don't see enough.
Is Green Bay, you think, better than Washington?
No. Well,
I would say yes.
I don't know.
I do think. I mean, what'll be tough with me saying this now and me looking at the standings, what you would need is Seattle to fall off, because I think San Francisco is better than Green Bay, especially when if they figure out, and we saw little glimpses of it last night, working Debo and Christian McCaffrey together and opening up. I mean, they have a lot more weapons than just those two, and they really did showcase them last night.
They have Kittle to give it to as well. Their defense is pretty good. I just think they got out of the gate slow. I think they get ready to start clicking now, and that's a team that you could easily see in the conference finals. I mean, because I don't think the NFC is that strong this year. But overall, I still don't see. I think what Seattle is doing is one of the best stories of the league this year. Moving Russell Wilson, getting a bunch of draft choices, and Geno Smith they dust off, and he's giving them a chance to win every Sunday.
He is. And looking at their schedule moving forward, they do have Kansas City. They're at Kansas City. They do have the 49ers on their schedule, and they have the Jets on their schedule. But outside of that, Carolina, 2 games against the Rams, in Vegas.
What about Green Bay? Who else do they have on their schedule?
Green Bay on their schedule for the rest of the year, they have Tennessee, Philadelphia, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, and then Rams and Lions.
So where are they going to get a win?
That's as you look at that, they'll beat the Lions. They'll beat the Rams.
They haven't beaten them so far this year.
They'll beat the Rams.
Who knows what the Rams look? Is that late in the year?
That is coming up December 19th, after their bye week too.
Yeah. Maybe they'll beat the Rams. So there's 2 wins on the schedule.
The Chicago. I mean, Justin Fields right now. He is he is a one-man fantasy wrecking crew. Team can't win.
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row now.
They have big issues in that team. I mean, their offensive line is crappy. The defense has got some holes in it. So they've got some issues to deal with.
But they have a star quarterback now. They have a quarterback that they can rely on, which is something they haven't had in a long time.
Here's the thing, though. They've got to establish a running game, because if they don't, then you can't keep running Justin Fields. I'm sorry. It's not going to work. I mean, he's not even Lamar Jackson, who runs the ball a great deal, still can throw it and still has a decent running game to support him. And Justin Fields has got to find both before he can be even more effective.
By the way, I saw this talking fantasy football. So Jeff Saturday now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, beats the Vegas Raiders yesterday. Did you see this? So apparently, the man was so far retired that he was in a fantasy football league with some friends, and he had to relinquish that league in order to be able to be the head coach of the Colts. So Eric Decker took over the fantasy football league for
receiver.
Yeah.
Well,
so if you were ever wondering if anybody involved in NFL coaching was doing fantasy, anything like that, no, he had to completely give up his team.
A lot of things you have to give up
Yeah.
when you take on that role. A league that has so many issues, they have the nerve to have some morals issues that you have to be able to abide by. I was happy to see Saturday win. I don't know the guy, but just all the heat that he was catching because he got the job.
Right.
And
a job he didn't apply for.
Yeah, he didn't apply for it, but Irsay trusted him.
Yeah.
And, good for him. And I don't know how far it's going to take him because he's got some issues on that team. Or did they need a culture change? Is he allowing his coaches to coach? And because he didn't know much about that team. So he just, boys, what do we have here? And they said, we ought to try and do this, this, and that. So he's listening to them. I'd like to see what his staff looks like. I didn't have a chance to look over his staff, but maybe he's got some guys on there that are probably helping him through this a great deal.
And that's the case too. He played for some good coaches and
played some bad ones too.
He did, and you know what? He snapped the ball to probably the smartest quarterback that's ever played the game. So probably has learned a lot in his time.
You ever seen that video clip of him and Peyton?
Yes, that was making its rounds last Monday when he got the job.
Well, good for him. I'm glad to see it work out. Who do they have this week?
So they just beat the Raiders. Coming up next, they have the Eagles on the 20th. So yeah, Eagles next Sunday. There were some outside, I guess it's still on the field stuff, but away from the actual game. Cooper Kupp, the wide receiver for the Rams, who set all kinds of records last year, came out last week complaining about the surface that the players are expected to play on week in and week out. And then he goes and he gets hurt yesterday, probably going to miss a couple weeks with his injury, but complaining about that and then getting hurt. It was what do you think about some of the issues?
This has been going on for about a month and a half now. There have been more players coming out talking about this surface. The president of the Players Association came out on Friday raising some real issues about it. But you know what? This has been going on for over 50 years and nobody's done anything about it. Here's the problem that we're going to see in the future. Your kid, other people who watch it, their kids, they're going to start having injuries a lot earlier. The knee replacements, the hip replacements, the ankle replacements, and those injuries and back issues that these athletes are going to be playing on because now the surfaces, these artificial surfaces are now in high schools. Yeah. And kids are playing
They're younger than Hudson's going to be playing baseball on turf fields all summer.
It's the worst thing that can happen. And now we're going to see a whole generation of kids that by the time they're 23, 24 years old, they'll be done. I can make that prediction right now because this surface is not good. It's cost multiple careers. I look at Dan Dierdorf as the greatest example of what turf can do for you. He practiced on it and played on it, and he can barely walk. And we see so many NFL players in their 60s and 70s now, and even earlier than that have really hard times moving around because playing on this surface has not been good at their bodies.
So we've seen that. I mean, that has the technology, the science has evolved so much to allow for turf fields to be affordable everywhere.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to.
When does the technology and when does the science catch up for footwear? For something, because that's what it is. It's footwear, and that is going to cause the shocks to go through all of that. And maybe that's something Dr. Rick can dive
Well, he
in
and
on.
I talked about this last week, and I know we're going to get more into it. He and Rammer will. But it's something that I'm not sure how you can fix it from a footwear standpoint. Grass is grass. I mean, this stuff has cost guys. Every time I look at Deion Sanders, how his career got cut short because of turf toe, and all the guys who now don't play have turf toe, and the other things that come with it. You know, we've seen guys blow out ACLs with it as well, and it's just something that the owners don't care about. They don't care about it at all. They don't have to buy a lawnmower anymore. They don't have to deal with grounds crew. And, the networks like it because it makes the field looks good on TV. But at the end of the day, the players, they're the ones that are paying a severe price. And this is where the Players Association has to step up and do more. And what I mean by doing more is saying, look, we're not doing it. We're not going to play. No new field should be housed with turf. The other thing that comes into play here is, and this is my concern about the Players Association, is sometimes they just look at these guys as just a control number. You pay dues. You know what, Joe? If you're out of the league, that's all right. There's another guy's going to replace you. They've got to step up and say enough is enough. I don't think they have the guts to do it. I don't think they have the influence to do it, but they got to do something.
Yeah, the right now it's about half and half to how many fields have turf, how many fields are and how many fields are grass, and the different types too that you see. The SoFi, the one that Cup is complaining about, Hella's Matrix turf, and there are other fields. NRG Stadium and AT&T Stadium also use the exact same turf that's there.
So there's another turf that's out. And, most of the ones we see, they use a ground up tire rubber to create cushion. Coconut husk is what some teams are using.
Okay.
And apparently that has a little bit more give to it, where you don't get your foot caught and things of that nature. That might be a direction. You even have to water it.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see what the next generation will look like. I'd rather just have grass, man. And so what if it looks brown in December? You know what? There's guys that don't get hurt as much. That's for darn sure.
You mentioned the Dr. Rick podcast. You can find that each and every week right here on Claibs Online. All new website, too, claibsonline.com. Go check it out. You'll see all of the podcasts there, all of our videos, everything up there at claibsonline.com. Brand new website. Check it out and let us know what you think of what it is we're doing there at claibsonline.com. We are out at Mungenast St Louis Acura. We're going to take a break, come back, and get in some college stuff here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe live from Mungenast St Louis Acura.
As one of St. Louis's largest veteran-owned companies, St. Louis Acura knows what it means to serve. As we head into the holiday season, St. Louis Acura is collecting toys for tots for the United States Marine Corps and a clothing drive for local military charities and churches. Each donation can earn a gift from our boutique or a discount on a vehicle service or car wash. Please help us help others this holiday season, and thank you for helping St. Louis Acura become one of the area's top 50 fastest-growing businesses for 2021.
From our roots in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.
Back here, Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. Not a whole lot of Cardinal stuff to talk about, Claibs, but they did just send out a press release while we were in that 1-minute commercial break. Friday, November 18th, the first chance to buy tickets for next season's games. They got 5-pack, 6-pack, 10-game packs, along with single-game, all-inclusive tickets. All of that available.
Those are nice holiday gifts.
Yeah, get those before Christmas.
Winter warm-up is going to come back this year as well. That's going to be in January. But, let's face it, most people want to know what they're going to do next. General manager meetings took place last week. I don't know about you, but I'm waiting on baseball to figure out, like the other sports have, free agency is a big deal at the beginning. I mean, everybody knows when July 1st rolls around, it's free agency for hockey, and the Blues are out there doing their thing.
Guys sign contracts at 12:01.
Exactly. And we see it in the NFL. We certainly see it in the NBA. And Major League Baseball, I don't know what the hell they're waiting on.
Why is that?
Well, they want to set the market, as they like to say. You know what? If there's somebody you want, go get it. Because I think you do your team and your fans a disservice by dragging this thing up to the week before spring training starts.
So the other sports, though, that you mentioned that do that, they all have salary caps.
True.
Is that the biggest reason why?
Yeah, I think that guys want to, they want to spend their money. They want to spend it wisely. And let's face it, teams have, there may not be a designated cap in baseball, but teams know what their budget's going to be. and they want to spend it wisely. But I really would like to see them be a little bit more aggressive earlier than later.
Yeah, in the NBA, I mean, the most you can spend on a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Seth Curry was going into free agency and teams get into a bidding war for him, I'm sure it would take a few weeks for him to make his decision. But knowing where one guy can go for one amount of money, he's going to be told right away, hey, you come here, we're bringing in these guys too. Here's how everything's going to work out money-wise. This is how it's going to sit. And that's what, okay.
Yeah, it's got to be a better way. I just think
waiting until February. I mean, that's look at Bryce Harper what did he wait? Did he go into March, or was it like mid-February when he finally signed? Spring training had already started.
Right.
When Bryce Harper signed that deal with the Phillies. I mean, if you're trying to gain interest in baseball, do that in December.
I agree.
And then the fans get on board. Then you're going to sell we just talked about the tickets. The Cardinals are putting tickets on sale this Friday because they want you to buy them before the holidays.
Well, but from an overall marketing standpoint, it's big. It's important. Mm-hmm. I like to see them do it, but apparently they're not listening to me or you. So, but I'd like to see them try something different.
Yeah, there were a couple moves made yesterday. I think we're going to see a few more made today. Today's the final. You have to get your guys in for the 40-man. Mm-hmm. I know there were reports that the Rays were going to look at trading away a few guys and try to adjust their roster to fit the guys they want and the payroll they want. So I think we'll see some minor moves, just nothing that's going to, not for any guys that you're going to put on the marquee.
You mentioned the 40-man.
Yeah.
And every day I look at it, I'm like, really? This guy's on the 40-man? For what? And I think the Cardinals in that situation this year, I'm trying to pull them up.
Delvin Perez just he former first-round pick. I know he wasn't on the 40-man, but he just opted for free agency.
Well, there was no future for him.
No.
He's been in this organization since he was 17,
mm-hmm.
and he's never gotten a whiff of AAA. Oh, he got a little bit of
the last year, yeah.
But he never got to the big leagues. I mean, and it just didn't work. And you're gonna have guys that you're gonna miss like that, and it's unfortunate because the Cardinals invested a lot into this guy. As far as
they took a chance on him in the draft too, and nobody else wanted him because of his ties to PEDs. The Cardinals said,
what?
Marijuana. So it said, okay, you know what? We'll give him a chance too, and it just never panned out for the guy.
I'm looking at the 40-man roster here. I'm just trying to see who I can eliminate. Give me a second, folks.
Not guys that were on the team last year. Are there any that were on the team last year?
Pitchers.
Because they made a few moves already. What was it, Moises Gomez? That's one they put on. I think they're at 38. Are they at 38 right now?
Yeah, I believe you're right. I don't know how many of these guys could actually help you, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
That'll all get started here. I mean, we're past. I mean, free agency's open. They could go sign anybody they want right now. Who's the shortstop on your list right now? Who is as right now? Who do you want to be the starting shortstop opening day for the Cardinals?
Turner.
Okay,
it'd be Trey Turner. I'm going to sign Turner. I'm going to trade for Murphy, and I'm going to find me another legitimate. I'm going to find another closer.
Okay,
I got to go find a closer. I got to have two closers in the bullpen.
The Astros just re-signed one of their relievers, one of their late game relievers for a lot of money.
Yeah,
and
I
also
think that market's going to really go up this year. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean all these guys are good. I mean, but I think that we've seen the urgency of having a deep bullpen, and if you don't have one, you probably aren't going to be playing late in postseason.
The Astros made one of the more shocking moves that I think we're going to see this entire offseason too. They did not re-sign, or I guess fired, re-sign. It's varying reports.
He got fired
of what they did with Jim Click, their GM.
Here's the thing with Click. He'd already made his bed with a lot of people within the organization. Analytic guy who really wasn't paying attention to the game. One of the big issues was he didn't want Jeremy Pena hitting second.
Right.
And I forgot what the record was.
54-9.
Yeah. But there were some other things that were going on with him and Dusty, him and Jim Crane. It was just a matter of time. But when you MF your owner at general manager's meeting, what do you expect?
Right.
So I don't know whether he'll get another job. Probably will, but I just don't think he can do that. And, they didn't want him back.
Right.
Because if they did, they would have signed him to a long-term deal compared to giving him a one-year deal. So there were a lot of things. There were some storm clouds over this thing. Going back to spring training, I remember there was a situation going on. There was a player that Dusty wanted, and he MF'd this guy to the point where he'd have thought this guy was a terrorist. And once that unfolded, things started to go in a different direction. So good riddance, I think, is what a lot of people are saying.
Are you surprised that Dusty came back after winning a World Series?
I was, because, can you name the coaches or managers who won their last game?
I mean, Tony would have been on that list if not for the whole White Sox situation.
But think about that.
Yeah.
Scotty Bowman's the only one in recent memory.
Okay.
So I thought he would have walked away at his age. There's plenty of things Dusty has going he could have done. He could have stayed in the game in another capacity. But I think there's that aura about trying to repeat that really entices people. And plus, they had a good team, man. They got everybody coming back. They'll probably make an improvement here or there. So I guess if I'm him, I say, why not? But I was a little surprised.
I was too. And that means the Astros and Dusty Baker will be coming to St. Louis
true. We'll see him in
year.
Spring training.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, every other day it almost seems like, with between the Marlins, the Nationals, and the Astros down there at those two facilities. Hey, college football this past weekend. No, I mean.
By the way, congratulations to John Jay.
Oh yeah,
being on the Marlins staff.
My scooter buddy.
I haven't seen who else they've hired on that staff. Have you?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Now imagine if Skip is down there and he already brought John Jay. I'm gonna guess maybe Descalso ends up getting a job down there too.
You got to have some guys with some experience. Right. You can't have too many guys with no experience. But
Descalso might be in Jupiter next year, is what you're saying.
I thought that had Stubby Clapp moved to be bench coach, he would have been the ideal guy to be a first base coach.
And there were a lot of people I think that thought that too, given the relationship between Ollie and Descalso. Yeah. So that's it's nice to see Ollie starting his own little coaching tree around baseball. College football this weekend. And any real big shocks to you? Any big surprises? I don't know if we're gonna count Purdue beating Illinois as a shocker.
Well, I think because Illinois had been playing well, and they'd had this one on the schedule, knowing how important it was, that you would have thought they would have had a better outcome. Purdue's a good team. They do some things really well there.
Oregon losing at home.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise. UCLA getting knocked off as well. And you know what? I know they won't be in the playoffs. At Alabama, man, they find a way to make it interesting every Saturday. Thank you. One way or the other. And you think about 2 field goals or the reason why they're not in this conversation, but they're in every game. And I've said this before. Bryce Young is the best quarterback in college football, period. What he can get done with a young, inexperienced offensive line, no real game breakers as far as receivers like he's had in the past, and a running game that's a little suspect because of youth. They find a way, man. They find a way. They play good defense. They're a little thin on defense right now, but overall, that's a team that you do not want to play at this time of year.
Both of their losses were on the road, too. They lost at Tennessee and at LSU, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's that how the schedule goes.
Yeah, and you know what? Nobody's crying about it. I mean, I just think that, man, 2 plays and they'd be in this discussion, which leads me to this. You have TCU, who's really kind of messed up the
I got TCU schedule up right now. That's what I was just about to bring up. TCU, talk about how for real they are right now. Their next 2 games, they are at Baylor and then home against Iowa State. That's what they have to get to the Big 12 the Big 12 championship game. Does the Big 12 does that just go 1 versus 2?
I guess you're right. They don't have division.
No. So if that's the case, then they play Kansas State, who they lost. TCU beat them by 10 at TCU.
I know it's a conference championship game. That's probably one I'll be doing something else on.
Yeah.
I don't take.
I mean, if Kansas State, I mean, if they knock them off, it's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah, and guess what? Kansas State can beat TCU, and they're not going anywhere.
Right. They just get to go to the Fiesta Bowl, I guess.
Exactly. So who are you for?
I mean, right now it's the 4 undefeateds. But that's so. Georgia. If Georgia ends up in the SEC championship game, win or lose that game, they are in the Final Four.
Yes.
TCU runs the table. They finish 13-0. They're in without a doubt. So I guess it comes down to the Ohio State-Michigan question because they play each other. One of them
is going to be in.
One of them does get in. Yes. Can both of them get in?
No. Because they have to play. Well, here's the thing: who they play on the other side.
In the championship game?
Yeah.
So right now, Illinois is still leading the West Division. Illinois right now, they are still listed as being in
Illinois goes to Michigan this week, right?
Yes. So Illinois will not be representing the Big Ten West after they lose to Michigan this weekend.
Well,
so I don't know what the tiebreakers are because right now, Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, and Purdue are all 4-3 in the conference.
Another championship game I'll be doing something else on.
So the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. So let's just say Michigan wins the big game, and then goes on and wins the Big Ten championship. Does a 1-loss Ohio State get in over any of those other teams? And this is something we'll be able to debate the next few weeks too.
No, I think you would.
So that's your 4. So that's your 4. Yeah. So you're putting in 2 Big Ten teams instead of 2 SEC teams.
Yeah.
Because when one of those teams loses, when Ohio State or Michigan loses,
and
Ohio State this weekend, they are at Maryland.
Here's the thing. That's going to create an argument because I don't think either one of them plays as challenging of a schedule as the SEC teams.
Right. So Tennessee right now is 5th. Does Tennessee jump over one of those teams with their only loss being to Georgia?
Well, they'd have to play. Who do they play in the they play Georgia in the conference championship, right? No. Who would they play?
That's all these divisions. Yeah, I was going to say all these divisions. I have no idea. So right now, it would be Georgia versus LSU.
There's another school we got to think about.
No, they're 8-2. They got 2 losses.
Well, I don't know. I think we're going to have to watch this thing every week and see how things unfold.
I mean, but that's the thing. That's, we sit here and we say Alabama has no shot. I mean, it's a long shot. They could still jump back into the mix here with some other teams losing. But when you start to look at the 1-loss teams, you have Tennessee that's a 1-loss team. USC is a 1-loss team. Clemson's a 1-loss team.
There's another school in Clemson.
But right now the committee has them at 10.
Yeah, they got to jump over some people.
They got to jump over a lot of people.
What do you think of Missouri's performance on Saturday and what Tennessee decided to do?
First of all, Mizzou hung in that game a lot longer than I thought they would.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't think they'd get it handed to them like that, though.
I got out of hand late in the game. I like how Eli Drinkwitz handled.
What else was he supposed to say though?
I mean, he could get pissed off and riled some guys up.
You know what? So, here's the thing, Eli. Have better players. So I think what Tennessee did, you never like to see that. I don't know if there was a reason for it. Not because it's Missouri. I just don't like seeing teams get it run up on. I think it's embarrassing.
Weren't there comments made? Didn't Drinkwitz make some comments about Heupel, or wasn't there some bad blood there?
I don't know. They weren't together at any point.
I know, but I thought there were some. I thought maybe Heupel had something out against Mizzou or something.
No, I mean, I don't know if that's how you prove it. You got to, and maybe he's just trying to impress the voters.
And that's the thing too, is you have to think about how much is this playing into the committee.
So let me run this by you. Is Missouri a better team, even with getting 66 hung on them? I just don't see enough improvement. And you can tell me all you want about Brady Cook. Brady Cook is not what I call a top-tier SEC quarterback.
No, but I just went and pulled up Luther Burden's numbers again. Two catches yesterday or Saturday in that game. After a good game against Kentucky. 6 catches against Kentucky, 60 yards in that one, but only 2 yesterday, 2 against South Carolina. He's only a freshman, true freshman. So
I guess, and I know where you're going with this.
no, I'm just wondering. I mean, what your thoughts are. You know, has he lived up to?
Well, that's a good question. Is he not doing something in practice where he's not getting enough touches? Or are they trying to spread the wealth? Or are they covering him that way? I don't know. But I think that's going to be the most interesting decision of the season.
Mm-hmm.
When this season's over with, does he come back?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real here. This has not worked out like I think people anticipate.
No.
And I don't think Eli Drinkwitz has done a good job in calling plays this year. And there's a lot of games. And I tell you, Tyler Macon, there's no way he's coming back. Why would he come back the way they use him? They ran that same Wildcat fake that nobody takes the bait on. And then they did run it the one time, and then the guy fumbled, and that really opened up the gates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't see enough improvement.
Before we get out of here, just quick, college hoops. I mean, we're not far enough into the season to really have a lot of thoughts on what's going on in the college hoops season. But did you see yesterday Lindenwood traveled over to Mizzou?
Yeah.
Did you see what the final score of that game was?
No, I didn't.
It was 82-53.
Okay.
Did you see what the spread was on the game?
30?
28.5. Did you see how the game ended?
No, I didn't. Somebody jacked up a
Kid
three.
from Mizzou threw up a 3 from half court at the end of the game.
If you don't think that gambling is having an impact on these games, then you got to wake up here, man. I mean, that's the elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. The gambling is having a greater impact on games, whether it's football or basketball, certainly in the NFL. It's more than I think anybody's willing to talk about. Because we're going to have a scandal at some point. Somebody's going to be shaving or saving points somewhere. Yeah. And I've seen, I don't know if you probably weren't around when Earl Bruce was coaching at Ohio State.
No clue.
Earl Bruce was the head football coach at Ohio State. Had one of the best winning percentages of all time at Ohio State. You know how he got fired? He wasn't covering. He was winning, but he wasn't covering enough. And he was and everybody knew it. The students knew it. And they wanted him to stay, but the people who were making bets, and this is well before gambling has taken precedent like it has now. But you know what? It's going to happen, man.
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
You're right.
Yeah, Ben Sternberg. Ben Sternberg. I don't know if he's on your Mizzou radar.
No, he's
for
not.
The basketball team.
No.
23-foot 3-pointer at the buzzer to go up 29 points on Lindenwood.
It's going to happen more than you think.
But here's the thing, though.
At this time of year, that's when you really got to start paying.
If you're not an alum of Mizzou or Lindenwood, and you're betting on Mizzou versus Lindenwood,
you got bigger problems.
1-800-BETS-OFF.
There you go. You got bigger problems.
Hey, this is Lunch with Claibs and Joe. We are out at Mungenast St Louis Acura, and Claibs, they got the Toys for Tots donation going on right now.
Toys for Tots is over here, and you can come out and bring out a toy. They've been doing this for a number of years with the United States Marine Corps, and it's a really good thing, especially at this time of year for kids. So if you have an extra gift for a kid, just drop it on out here, and while you're here, take a look at some of the great cars that they have, both new and used. And they have a good size of them. So come on out and check them out, but make sure you bring a toy with you.
And each donation will earn you a gift from the boutique or a discount on a vehicle service or car wash right here at Mungenast St. Louis Acura. We will take another break, come back, wrap things up right here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe on claibsonline.com.
There's always been a bright side to living in downstate Illinois. Ameren, Illinois is making it even brighter with a little help from the sun. Right now, we're building a next-generation solar facility to bring you cleaner energy for generations to come. It's good for the environment, your neighborhood, and everyone living in downstate Illinois. That's brighter thinking. That's energy at work. Learn how you can participate in solar programs at amerenillinois.com/renewables.
My name is Jeremy Seabury. I am one of the owners of Pawford K9.
Marcus Galmore, co-owner of Pawford K9.
What makes us different from other dog companies is there is no breed left behind. We stand by that 120%. We specialize in aggressive behavior modification. We don't turn away. We bring them in for a free evaluation to see if we can help the dog.
Here at Perfect K9, we focus on the owners, educating the owners.
How do I get this dog to give me the behaviors that I'm asking for without the treats? So that's when me and Marcus come in. We train the dog, so when you take the dog home, you don't need the treats. The dog is doing it because you're asking it to.
After each training package, we go through a series of lessons. We keep going until the owner gets it.
We make sure that they go over the beatings with their dog, and that dog is listening before they leave here, but also we follow up when they get home. Is your pup listening to you here? If it's not, we one phone call away, we'll make a trip. We got the Perfect Mobile, where we go out to their homes and make sure their dog is okay.
Back here, lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. We're out at Mungenast St Louis Acura, as we've talked about a few times in the show today. Come on out here for the holiday season. They're collecting toys, the clothing drive, and toys for the Toys for Tots for the U.S. Marine Corps. Claibs, last week when we did the show, and last week when you were on with when you and Alex Ferrario did the Ferrario face-off, the Blues had lost, what was it, eight in a row. But now they got a winning streak going. They've won 2 in a row now, and we can call off all the firings, right?
Well, I think they're taking a step in the right direction. I thought Colorado, well, they have Colorado tonight, but I thought the Vegas game was a really good game considering how well Vegas had been playing. And they played, I just saw everybody stepping up their game, doing the little things. There was a lot more commitment to the detail of how the Blues need to play. And hopefully they can build on it. They'll get another good test tonight with Colorado. And then they go into Chicago, who's playing well also. So a good test for them as they start to pull it together. That doesn't mean you call off the Dogs. You're always looking to improve your hockey club. And they could use another defenseman. I know they've got some guys on the men. Bortuzzo is down. But, when you think about a guy like Bortuzzo, he's a guy you probably don't want out there for 18, 19 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Okay? And now that he's hurt, Callie Rosen is getting some more ice time. But you have to wonder how much ice you can give him as well. So those are some of the things that I'm seeing. But I really like their commitment to detail in that last game against Vegas. It got a little hairy at the end. Bennington, who I'm happy to say, Joe, throughout this whole ordeal has played really good hockey. Mm-hmm. Most of these goals that he's given up have not been solely on him. So if they can keep him hot, who knows? They can turn this thing around. And remember, we're in the middle of November. Okay? Yeah. Tomorrow's November 15th, so there's a lot of hockey in front of them that they can get this thing turned around.
What's the Flag Day equivalent in the NHL?
I normally go with Martin Luther King's birthday, the 15th of January.
All right.
I think that's a day I kind of circle on the calendar.
All right, we will we'll look ahead at that. Claibs, before we get out of here, today the Martin Matthews passed away this past week, and I know you wanted to talk about him a little.
Yeah. I was on his first state championship team. This is going back to the 60s. He never met a stranger. He never believed in a bad kid. And, man, he went through a lot, man. There was so many racial issues going on then where we were playing in the playoffs. We had have our birth certificates with us. We had to we'd always go in the county. We never played a game in St. Louis in the city. Didn't have a boys club. It was out of basically his car, Mr. Dickey's car. And then they finally got a building that they took over. And then they eventually moved over right off of 70. But what a good man he was for so many different reasons, and making so many kids believe in themselves and being able to do something with sports. Greatly missed. He'll be greatly missed. He's 97. Wasn't as involved. Tom Sullivan kind of runs it, and Tom does a phenomenal job. But man, the impact he's had on so many people in St. Louis, business leaders. Kind of, you know what? I don't know if I've ever told you the story. One day, and I was just kind of starting at Cam West. They needed an MC for the dinner. Whoever cashed out, couldn't show up. I get a call from Mr. Highland that Sunday morning. He says, "Hey, I need you to go MC a dinner today." He barely knew me, right? But he figured, hey, he's a black guy, we sent him there, all right. So I go to this dinner, I MC it, had fun with it. Mr. Matthews called Mr. Highland that Monday morning and told him what a phenomenal job I did and he should be on the air more. And I didn't know the story until later in life. Mr. Highland's secretary told me the story. And he just had an impact. I don't know if I'd be here if I hadn't gone to that dinner. Had an MC. I was good that day. I remember it because you don't have time to think about it. You show up and just say, all right, here we go. But it was fun. That was like 1981, 82 when he did it. And he had that kind of juice, man. People in the business world, man, they respect. When he called and asked for something, he got it most of the time, because they knew he was trying to do the right thing. But a wonderful man. We're going to miss him. In case you're interested, his funeral is on Thursday at Graham Chapel on Wash U's campus. That tells you how big this thing's going to be. But wonderful man. It was a tough week. And we also lost Fred Hickman last week, too, formerly of CNN and ESPN, the first guy on Yes Network. I've known Fred forever. And when he and Nick Charles were doing Sports Night, it was wearing ESPN out. ESPN had some really good talent, but they had it figured out. And ESPN, you could see it taking some things from what they were doing. But he and Fred, Nick and Fred, were as good of a combination as sports as we know it today ever. And they had him. Dan Patrick was there. Ham Storm was there. Dan Hicks was there. Gary Miller. They were loaded at CNN. And that's the one, they made a lot of mistakes over the last 30 or 40 years. That's one of them. When they has decided to walk away from sports, if they'd have kept that up, maybe the whole look of how ESPN does business would be different.
Yeah, it's tough week. Claibs, anything you got planned this week here for Claibs Online?
Man, we're going to do something with Alex Ferrario probably on Wednesday. Other than that, man, I'm getting ready for vacation. Yeah. So, I had to practice packing yesterday because I'm trying to go as light as I can, man. So I had to do that. My significant will probably pack by an hour before we leave. And so I'm just looking forward to that. I need some downtime.
All right. Well, you enjoy that, and I'll keep the lights on here at ClaibsOnline.com. We want to thank the folks out here at Mungenast St Louis Acura for having us out here. They have the cars out here on the lot in the showroom here at Manchester, 13720 Manchester Road. It's where you can find them, or online at stlouisacura.com. The nation's only 30-time Precision Team Award winner for Acura sales and service. For Mike Claiborne, I am Joe Roderick. We will talk to you soon right here on ClaibsOnline.com.
St. Louis Acura has an unbeatable selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. We have a great selection of over 175 pre-owned and factory precision certified, with finance rates as low as 0.99% for 36 months with approved credit. We also have over 250 new Acura models arriving this year, and Acura loyalty rebates up to $1,000 on select new Acura models. St. Louis Acura remains committed to becoming better than ever for you.